Welcome to my tutorial. The big difference with this face mask is the use of reusable shopping bags made of non-woven polypropylene as liners. There are instructions for the two types of ear straps. The first bag that I used was from Fry's or Kroger's, and it had a label inside stating non-woven polypropylene. The second bag was from Canadian Tire, made of number 5 non-woven polypropylene. For more information on the use of non-woven polypropylene, see the website for Maker Mask. For supplies, for the nose piece you would need electrical tape, garden wire or paper clip or pipe cleaner, needle nose pliers, and the usual sewing supplies. Now let's get to work. I used the pattern from craftpassion.com. You can find the link for that in the description below this video. She has patterns for men, women, and children. She also has 3 sets of instructions for a basic mask with 2 layers, one with a pocket and one with a nose piece. My adaptations were adding a pleat at each end, changing the method of adding the nose piece and the nose piece itself, and most importantly, adding the liner layer. Here you can see the outside and the inside pieces showing the nose piece and the pleats. Again, the pattern comes from craftpassion.com. Note when cutting that the outside pattern piece is a different size than the inside and lining layers. Now we're ready to sew the pieces together. On the outer piece, place the 2 right sides together, stitch a 1/4 inch seam on the long curved edge. This will be the center front. Repeat for the lining and repeat for the inside piece. When you're finished all of the pieces, clip the curves. Be careful not to clip the stitching. The lining is a little bit bulkier, so I clipped one side of the hem down to about 1/8 of an inch. The front seams are now finished. Press all the seams to one side, but be careful. The lining of non-woven polypropylene will melt if the iron is too hot. Test it on a scrap piece of lining first. Place the inside and outside pieces with right sides together, matching their seams. Add the lining. It doesn't matter whether the seam is on the outside or inside for the lining. Pin all 3 layers together. Now you're ready to sew. You could sew it with this side facing up or the other side. It doesn't matter. Sew the 3 layers together in a 1/4 inch seam. Top seam's now finished. Cut across the top to reduce the bulk when you turn it inside out. Be careful not to cut the stitching. Pin and sew the other long edge, all 3 layers together. Top and bottom edges are now finished. Now turn the right sides out, as shown by the white and black layers on my diagram. Use a round-ended utensil to sort of poke out the top corner. Press the seams open. This makes the next step easier. Press the top and bottom seams ready for top stitching. Pin the edges with the front, the black part, extending a little beyond the back part, which is the white layer. Top stitch the top edge 1/8 inch from the edge. Repeat on the bottom edge. You could do this with either side facing up. I think it looks better if you stitch the outside piece facing up. That's the black side on mine. Top stitching completed, and now the fussy part. Making the nose piece. I used garden wire, but you could use paper clip, straightened pipe cleaner, or any bendable piece of wire. Cut the wire 5 inches long. Use needle nose pliers to turn each end under about 1/2 inch to form a loop at each end. Squeeze the loop tightly so that there are no bits that would snag anything or cut or break through the fabric or the tape. Cut 3 pieces of electrical tape, 2 of them 1/4 inch and 1 of them 5 inches. Wrap each loop with the 1/4 inch piece of tape where the loop joins the main part. Wrap the length of the wire, except the very tips, with the tape, wrapping it on a slant. Cut off excess tape at the other end. This is a comparison of the original length with the wrapped length, about 1 inch difference, so you have a 4 inch piece. To prepare the mask for the nose piece, lay the piece of wire along the top edge, approximately 2 inches down each side of the center seam. Place a pin at each end just a little bit outside the end of the wire. Fold the mask in half to make sure the pins are the same length from the center front seam. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. The green dotted lines are the stitching lines. The one on the left is a short line. The other one is a long line. Note the direction of the seam allowance. Here it is going to the right. You want to leave the gap at the opposite side of the seam allowance so that the insertion of the wire is easier. You will be sewing along the green dotted lines, making sure you leave that gap. Sew the short line first. That's the one in the upper left side. You will be stitching the long line. That's the orange one indicated here. It's across and up. It's a good idea to place the wire along the top edge to make sure you have enough room. Then stitch the line, leaving a gap at the left end. The wire will go in this gap. It should look like this. Note the gap in the left side. Insert the wire through this gap and push it all the way to the other end. The wire has now been inserted. And now to close the gap. The black line there is the wire actually inside. It's a good idea to put the pin outside the loop so that you know where the loop is and being able to sew around that loop. Sew across that open gap and backstitch. Here's the front side showing the casing for the wire. And sorry about my uneven stitching. Now it's time to make a pleat at each end. This pleat provides for a better fit. Tuck the fabric about 1 inch from the top edge and about 1/4 inch wide. Length about 1.5 inches. I chose to make the pleat this way so that later on when you insert the elastic through the casing, it doesn't catch on any of the seams. They're sewn down. There's the pleat from the outside. And from the inside. I missed a little bit there where the arrow is, so I would have redone it. Now we're ready to finish it off. The rest is easy and fast. At each end, press under 1/4 inch, then turn over the hem with the crease at the edge of the inside layer. Press down here and pin the hem. The hem will be about 1/2 inch. So, close to the edge of the hem. The casing for the elastic has now been completed at one end. Repeat at the other end. We just need to make the straps for the ears now. So there are 2 ways to do the straps. One are ear straps and the other is wraparound. I prefer 1/8 inch elastic for both the styles. It's more comfortable, easier to hook around most people's ears, and it can be tied in a knot and adjusted, shortened or lengthened according to the knot. For the earpiece, start with a 10-inch piece of elastic, which can be shortened, and for the wraparound, use at least 20 inches. Tie the elastic into a knot and pull it into the casing. Or you could use a shoelace. Thread it through the casing starting at the top of one side, go down, across, and up the other. For the 1/4 inch elastic ear loops, cut 2 pieces about 8 inches long. Use a safety pin to thread the elastic through the casing. Both elastics are now through the casing. To join the 2 ends of the elastic, overlap their ends about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch and sew it. I used a zigzag stitch, but a straight stitch or hand sewing would be fine. Now you just need to pull the straps through the casings, and voila, you're all done. Well done. Here's a look at the inside. And now, instructions for using a shoelace for a surgical mask style strap, the wraparound style. Start at the top, thread down one side, go over across to the other side and up the other casing. Put this mask on with the inside layer facing you. Put the bottom loop over your head under your ears, and then take the top loop above your ears and tie it at the back of your head. Thank you so much for watching this, and stay safe.